John Brown is the center of the whole raid on Harpers Ferry. The raid on Harpers Ferry is a major event that led to the American Civil War. And this is John Brown. John Brown himself had operated tannerines, attempted unsuccessfully to become a minister, and had tried and failed at various other business enterprises. In Kansas Territory, he and a small group of fellow abolitionists had killed pro-slavery men near Pottawatomie Creek, where he discussed his plans for a raid on the Renaissance at Harpers Ferry with Frederick Douglass. In August 1859, Douglass warned him, "You'll never get out alive." And this is also John Brown. The raid on Harpers Ferry led to a fanatical abolishment, which later caused the American Revolution. And this picture right here is of Miss John Brown, the trial of John Brown's death, the executive of John Brown in a stumble field near Charleston, and so on. The Harpers Ferry raid, conducted by fanatical abolitionist John Brown and 21 followers in October 1859, is considered one of the major events that ultimately led to the American Civil War. John Brown was hanged December 2nd for murder and treason against the Commonwealth of Virginia. The raid on Harpers Ferry had caused all of the wars that we have had, but the first war that started them all was the American Civil War, which then led to all of the other wars. The 21 men accompanying John Brown in what he dubbed the professional army were a mixed lot, united only in their hatred of slavery. 5 were black and 16 white. The raiders' second in command was John Henry Cake, a formal school teacher. William Lehman was a shoemaker from the state of Maine. Stuart Taylor was Canadian-born. John E. Cook came from a well-to-do family. One of the black men, Dangerfield Newby, hoped John Brown's actions would help him to rescue his wife from slavery. 2 others, John Copland and Lewis Leary, were formed slaves like Newby. After sundown on Sunday, October 16, 1859, Brown and his men left a farm he had rented under the name of Isaac Smith in western Maryland across the Walking through a heavy rain, they reached the town in darkness, capturing several watchmen and cutting telegraph wires. Hayward Shepard, a black man who was a Baltimore and Ohio Railroad baggage handler, confronted them and was killed, the first fatality of the raid. They seized the Renaissance and Armory, as well as Hale's Rifle Works, a private enterprise, and took 60 hostages from among prominent men at the area, including Lewis Washington, a great-grandnephew of George Washington. If Brown hoped the slaves of these men would join his revolution, he was disappointed. None did. The raiders also made a serious mistake when they detained a V&O train for 5 hours, but then let it go on to Baltimore. The conductor notified authorities in Washington after the train reached Baltimore around noon on the 17th. John Brown was sentenced to death, and then he signed a paper saying he was. Right here is his initials. Another picture of John Brown being sentenced to death, or people standing around him is this picture right here. His fellow friends are standing around him as he is dying. How the raid on Harpers Ferry caused change is because if it weren't for John Brown, then the whole American Civil War would have never happened, and the United States would never have been involved in all the wars we fought in, and we would not have lost all the men that we have lost. This picture is John Brown's grave, and right here, yeah, right here. And this picture is where he was killed. And this picture right here, John Brown executing his hangman. And that is the end of the raid on Harpers Ferry.